Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men in power want? More power.
My name is Luca Zanna. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a drill. If you're listening to this broadcasting, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
We're not afraid.
Here we go, guys and girls. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and also 104.1 FM. Don't forget also, if you want to listen to the show on the internet, you can go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Another Sunday, another show. And I tell you something, I always say many times, probably every Sunday I tell you this, the only reason why I am here on the air is because I really believe this is an opportunity for me to try to reach more than my, friends and family that normally they always hear from me, try to warn my fellow humans about what's going on, about things normally you never have the chance to know about it. And as I told you, many times, this is for me is a process, is a learning process. I always believe that knowledge is never absolute because it's always a journey. Today you think you know something, guess what? Tomorrow you will know more. And as I said also on the show, the purpose of the show is to spread information, real information. And I don't want to call it truth because there is always, as I said, today's truth may be tomorrow a different truth because there is always something new that we learn. But for sure, we try to reach and talk about topics that normally no other commercial radio stations will even let you think about it. I mean, seriously, the topic I will bring you today, I think it's vital to the concept of freedom as free human beings. And I tell you why. I've been thinking about this for a while. I've been doing my researches. I know we have a lot of very important things, and normally we talk about these things. We talk about politics, we talk about taxes, we talk about government oppression, and police state and global government, all these things that you know. But there is one thing. If government or governments in general can lie to us about probably one of the biggest lie that humanity ever faced in the last few hundred years, and the things I'm going to bring you today are true, guess how many other things they're lying to us? Maybe we are living in a lie. And more important, we are really slaves. Why? Because they are forcing us to pay for these lies. And maybe there are also more agendas. People say, look, what type of, Kool-Aid did you drink today? Let me tell you, I'm not drunk. And of course, now, let's see who's calling here. Already somebody trying to bug. Let me turn it off. The point is, this is not about abstract concept things. I will tell you right now the magic word. And I know many of you that may say, you know what, just turn the radio off. Fine, that's fine. You can. I don't care at this point. I have the obligation that whenever I find something new, to share it with you. And at least all I think I ask you is do your own researches, use your own brain. And any topic is welcome on this show. We have no dogmas, okay? The only thing would be my personal faith that is personal, I don't even tell you. But besides that, there are no dogmas. Everything here is for debate. Simple as that. That's the bottom line. So let me say the magic word, so at least finally people say, what are you talking, Luca? What is this very controversial topic that you want to talk with us today? It's called flat earth. Terra piatta in Italiano, in Italia. Yes, people say, do we really need to talk about this conspiracy when, we have real problems, with, this violence in the streets and we are close to World War III? Yes, I really believe that this is part of why all these things are happening. I really believe it. Because as I said, if government has the type of power to control every aspect of our knowledge, they can lie to us also about wars, false flags, and everything else. And we will believe everything they say. So let's start to see this topic. I wanted to bring with me an interesting guy, a Facebook friend that I met recently, and he's from Los Angeles. His name is Trevor Coppola, and he has a very interesting message board on Facebook. It's called Los Angeles Flat Earth. Let me bring him in. Trevor, are you there?
How you doing, Luca?
I'm okay. Thank you very much for getting my invitation. I was looking for somebody like you, and I'm glad you are the right person. I did a little research about you, also your message board. You have a lot of great information about Flat Earth. But before we go there, I want to talk about you, because you're not just some guy, all day in front of a computer. We have no life. You have a interesting man who has a life. I believe you are educated, and you're very smart. And for me to bring you here on the show and comes with such a controversial information shows that you've been thinking a lot about it. Please tell me a little bit about who you are, Trevor.
Well, I started a group called Flat Earth Los Angeles on Facebook that has about 13,000 members now. And I started, I think, sometime this year, so it hasn't been around that long. But I do some acting, I play cello, I do some singing, and other things, real estate management and some trading. I went to UCLA, and like you, I've been into conspiracies for a very long time. And I think, I looked at your website and it looks very interesting. And it was maybe about... maybe late 2015 that I stumbled upon this topic, and it just kind of, I became obsessed with it.
Yeah, no, I understand. And I've been studying a little bit about this the last 6 months. And, I try always to bring things, first of all, that, they're so black and white, and still people refuse to hear it. Like, for example, the Federal Reserve is the biggest scam of the universe. It's private, and the income tax fraud, the 1913, and many other things like now should be pretty much black and white, but still. And sometimes, I say, should I talk about this right now? I say, you know what? Yeah. I say yes. But tell me, what do you think about this? Should we talk about this topic?
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that because, a long time ago, in about the mid-'90s, I would go to these meetings that were talking about the Federal Reserve being private. It's not federal and there's no reserve. And everyone thought that was crazy, like in 1995, I guess it was. And these little groups, and then talking about this and all these other, topics that were thought to be crazy then. And now they're just, common knowledge and mainstream. Mm-hmm. And now that's where Flat Earth is now. And but unlike all these other conspiracies, Flat Earth is something that anyone can prove for themselves. Mm-hmm. I mean, just within minutes. Or just even thinking about it. You don't even have to conduct any tests. Just thinking objectively, and you will see that the heliocentric theory, which is all it is, it's just a pseudoscientific religion, has no validity. I mean, it's totally invalid. Anybody can disprove it. It has hundreds of problems wrong with it. And we can go into it. I mean, we could talk about hours for this, all the facts that there are to prove that the Earth is flat.
Well, it's exactly why I brought you here, because, first of all, your English is better than mine. Your accent is better than mine. And I think your articulation and your studies are more, let's say, deeper. I've been studying, but I still need somebody like you that I really believe has a good information to articulate these facts. And as I said, out there, listeners, I don't want you to believe anything me or Trevor are saying. All I ask you is use your own brain and start to stop thinking just because you've been told so. I mean, all our education system is based on dogmas. Everything we've been told, I remember when I went to school, the first thing they tell you, this is the way things they are. Why? Because somebody out there decided so. This is pretty much on every topic. Even history, let's not forget, is written by the victorious, by the winners. So we need to always analyze everything, in my opinion, with a very analytical brain, a mind. Do not believe anything just because we've been told, especially in the public education system called schools. I don't believe anything coming out of that system. Coming from Italy, I have my own proofs. But now let's talk about Flat Earth. And as I said, why so important? Why so important to start to at least have a chance to use your own brain? Why? First of all, I believe we should know the truth as human beings. Number one. Number two, as if government can lie to us something so big, guess what? How many other things we've been lied? And then, of course, there is also a problem here why they're doing this. There are different reasons, and we need to know. So I think this is the time we start. First of all, let's start from history. We had a moment in history that humanity and let's say the central powers, like the church, they used to advocate and force people in believing that we were on a flat earth, or at least the earth was the center of the universe. Am I right or wrong, if I remember my history lessons?
Yeah, it was like over 500 years ago. There were different models, and they said we were the center, and then they were saying that we were still round, but the center, and it went through different changes. And then, roughly 500 years ago, they started pushing this new model, and you will look and see that, Copernicus and Newton and all these people that are, push this model, they were all high-level Freemasons.
Yes, yes, that's true. That's a fact. Now,
and I think, and they've been controlling the world for a very long time.
That's true. And by the way, another little piece of information, most of our information we get it from, it's from NASA. Am I right or wrong? At least the authority.
Right.
And we know very well, it's just doing research. All the, let's say, higher ranks of NASA are Freemasons. That's a fact. Am I right or wrong? I mean, people can do this research.
Yeah, and they were all Nazis, too. They were brought in Operation Paperclip. And if you do any research into NASA, you'll find some crazy things about NASA. I mean, its roots, and it's basically a satanic organization. There are all kinds of crazy things. Well, but, I mean, not getting into all that. The reason that I got into Flat Earth was because, I saw a video that was recommended, and I said, okay, I'll click on this. I thought, this is ridiculous. And I clicked on it, and it had some interesting points that I thought, that I never really thought about. Well, there's a curvature. We should be able to measure it, right? And guess what? We can't measure the curvature. So I live in Santa Monica, and I went to the beach with my camera, and I put this on YouTube, and I decided I wanted to check for myself. So Catalina from the Santa Monica Pier is at an angle, and it's about... The most distant part is about 47 miles away or so, a little more. So I did the calculation. There's Earth curve calculators, and basically the formula is the distance in miles squared times 8 inches, 4.666. And it's simple math. So I did the calculations, and I figured out that the height of Catalina, it should be about 2/3 obscured by the curvature of the Earth from the distance where I was. And I got right in the ocean. So, you can look at my YouTube video. I think if you Google Flat Earth Catalina or something, a couple of my videos will come up. And I'm standing, up to my chest, and I filmed it. It has to be a clear day. And guess what? You can see all of Catalina. And it has a very distinctive shape to it. So I know I saw the entire thing. And so that got me thinking about it. That is strange. And then I started looking into it more and more. And basically, anyone can try to measure curvature. And it's a lot more than you would think. And so in the first mile, there should be 8 inches of curvature. And then mile 2, you square that distance. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 8 is 32 inches. So it's got to create a circle. So it exponentially increases. And that curvature is not there. And nobody has the curvature. No one can find it. If you look at the Trans-Siberian Railway, the China-Russia Railroad, it's over 8,000 miles long. So that's like 1/3 of the circumference of the Earth. You try to find any blueprints or anything anywhere that shows them, building for a curvature. The curvature should be about 5,000 miles of curvature.
Wow.
I mean, all the Suez canals, everything, there's no curvature anywhere.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. I said people may agree or not or whatever. The point, let's use logic. let's use our brain. Let's stop for a moment the name callings or just, sometimes I know people how they react. Or they don't even want to hear. They laugh at you. Say, okay, you want to laugh all they want.
They get very angry. Yeah, they start attacking you. I've been threatened. The people in my group have been physically threatened. Because it's a religion for people, and they don't realize it. These are just the cold, hard facts that there is no curvature anywhere. No one can measure. And you looked into it. You know this too.
Exactly. And this is exactly the idea of this platform. This radio show is about, we can talk about anything, and we should be able to use intelligence, and also to have a civil conversation. I have sometimes guests that I really can't stand and I don't agree, and I still welcome them here. And sometimes I got news for you. Sometimes I also learn something at the end of the conversation. I hope maybe they learn something from me. So I'm not saying here that you need to agree with us out there, or maybe I don't even need to agree on anything that Trevor's saying. But the point is, let's start to use our own brain, and let's challenge ourselves to see if we can keep up with logic. Now, the facts about the curvature angle that you said, we didn't make it up. You didn't make it up. This is exactly what we've been said, that how much this curvature should be following. So we go by the numbers. Am I right?
If you Google right now plane surveying, you will look in Wikipedia and all the time. It will say that for the first 100 square miles, we assume that the Earth is flat. Mm-hmm. This is surveyors saying this. But the reality is that it's all of it is. So they're just admitting that the first 100 miles. But I've talked to surveyors about this, and they're online saying that we've never measured any curvature. It never comes into account with anything we do. Everything's perfectly flat.
Okay. So that's the first thing I think we should really be able to, without being scientists, without any type of UCLA degree or have a multi-billion-dollar telescope, we can verify that ourselves. All we need is a little binocular, going to the beach, and start to look at this and measure it like an object at a certain distance, and you will see it's still there. It doesn't go below water or disappear on the other side. It's still there after even we reach the magic number that you just talked. Number two, give me another piece of evidence that people should say, well, let me think about it. Something that is strong. How can you prove that the Earth is flat?
Well, so the first thing would be curvature, which anybody can test for themselves, which we've discussed, and you can do it on ice, on large frozen lakes, and all over YouTube. There's people doing experiments, and they find zero curvature. Now, the second thing is we're supposedly moving, right? When you add up all the movements that they tell us, depending on who you listen to, we're moving between 500,000 miles an hour and over 1 million miles an hour. And maybe more than that. All their different ridiculous theories. But the bottom line is, there's been no movement. All the scientific tests that have been done show no movement. I mean, every single test. And but you can just use common sense and think about this. So we're rotating supposedly around the sun, right? So let's say whatever day this is, 6 months from now, we're going to be 180 degrees facing in the opposite direction on the other side of the sun, correct? According to their theory?
Yes, according to the theory, yes.
Yeah, it's a little hard to visualize, but you can picture what I'm saying. So you're facing the sun, right? And the other direction are the stars, right? That's nighttime. So in 6 months, we're facing 180 degrees in the opposite direction. And guess what? We always see the same stars.
Exactly.
We should see different stars every single night. We should see a slightly different view of the sky. We never do. We always see Polaris is always right above us, and the stars seem to be moving around us, which is exactly what they're doing, because we're staying still, and that stuff is moving around us. According to their model, not only all throughout the year, we should see different views of the three-dimensional outer space that they tell us exists. We should see all different stars, and then throughout the years, we should be seeing different stars. They've always been the same. An astrolabe is from thousands of years ago, works just as perfectly now as it did before. It's based on the flat Earth model, and it always works. So the stars never change. Now, they'll tell you that, they do. They're lying. They never change. Anyone can test this for themselves. They never change.
So much that, even we know very well, we use the stars for centuries to navigate, the North Pole.
Right.
This is something, that one thing really hit me very hard when I started to learn about this. Wow, the stars are always there. If it's exactly, it doesn't take much to think about that. I mean, if we really speeding like, I don't know, so fast in the universe, all these stars should change every night or every day, every hour. So, but they're always there, always there. So this is just another thing. And as I said, people can say maybe there is another explanation. That's fine. Bring it on. So far, go ahead.
None of their explanations make sense because, I will say to people, a friend of mine went to Harvard. I'd say, if you're facing one wall in a room and then you turn and face the other wall, are you looking at the same wall? And he says, no. So then if we're doing that in space, that's somehow different. Oh, yeah, but it's bigger. What difference does the size make? Because there's so much programming. We've all been brainwashed. We can't think clearly and rationally.
Yeah, this is very important. Now, point number 2. What do you think about, give me another point. I know there are many points, and then maybe I can give you some of mine. Go ahead. What is another point that would prove?
There are hundreds of them. I mean, for instance, Einstein, they had to come up with this gravity and theory of relativity, all this nonsense to explain why Michelson, Morley, Michelson, Gallo, Airy's failure, Sagnak's experience, Morley and Miller. You can look up all these experiments that these were all peer-reviewed, and they could not find any movement. They couldn't find any movement, and Einstein agreed with that, and then that's why he had to come up with the theory of relativity. He said, "Oh well, we can't. If everything's relative to everything else," and that's not even math. That's just theoretical, nonsense. It's not science. It's not reality. They have to come up with math and theory to debunk reality, to debunk facts.
Well,
so gravity is another thing that basically doesn't exist. It's about buoyancy. It's about density and buoyancy. That's all it's about. Well, I'll give you another one. When you're flying a plane.
Yes, I was going to ask you. Yeah, go ahead, please. The spinning of the head.
If you are flying straight and level, which is artificial horizon, that's all it is. It's a gyroscope. It doesn't use computers like the lies that they've been telling lately and calculating for the curvature of the Earth. No, it's using the same technology that they've used since we first started using planes. It's a flat level detector is all it is. We're going flat and level. You ask any pilot, he will admit they never dip the nose down. If we were going around that ball, you'd have to constantly be dipping your nose down. Otherwise, you'd fly off into space.
Yes. And by the way, I had my early 20s. I took my federal license as a pilot when I was here as a tourist at the time. Wasn't an American yet. And I fly. I used to fly. I have my own degrees, or at least my license. Now I need to renew it. But the point is exactly what you're saying. Never in our classes, never in our study of flight. First of all, I go up in the sky and I never see any curvature, and I don't even need to have a jet. Just with a little Cessna, you can see that. The point is, and never we were in our part of our, let's say, programming, or let's say organizing our route. We never had to think about what you just said. Our trip was always straight. There wasn't any curvature to follow. That's the bottom line. And that's something very important. But also another thing, we've been told that, the Earth spins how many miles per hour on its own? I mean, what is 900? I don't know.
Well, at the equator, they say it's like 1,040 miles an hour.
Yeah. So,
and of course, it would be all different speeds wherever you are on that globe,
I know, but it moves. It spins pretty fast, okay? The point is...
Fast, yeah.
The moment that I go up in the sky with an helicopter or maybe with an airplane, all I need to do, just stay steady. And technically, I don't even need to use any type of propellers. Just stay steady and follow the right direction. And I'm going to be finding myself directly on top of where I want to go. Let's say,
of course.
I mean, that's right there. I say, wow. I mean, come on. Let's think about that. Especially when you go these cross oceans, airplanes. I mean, if you're going from Europe to here, technically, what is that? I forgot. The faster direction when you go from east to west. Am I right? You followed it? Or
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, the
Yeah,
point.
there's a slight difference because of the wind, but
Yeah,
according to their nonsense, I
yeah,
mean, literally, well, like when they first came up with balloons, they thought as soon as you take off, you're going to be going 1,040 miles an hour or gradually because the Earth is spinning. But of course, none of that ever happens.
yeah. And no,
And then
nobody ever
they're
explained to me this. I mean, I like to know somebody can tell me how when you are up in the sky. And I'm not even talking about 20 feet. Let's go up. Really like the airplane, 30,000 feet. Why we do not follow this logic? I mean,
because and they'll just always parrot the same things that we've all been told, just gravity, this, that, because they can't think about, you know, rethinking everything because it just scares them too much. I mean, there's a million other examples, but I'll give you, for instance, if you look at Flat Earth Los Angeles on Facebook,
yes.
and you look at that picture that I have pinned, now it shows an image from 2012 NASA of the Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it shows next to it an image of 2013. Now, on my site, I provided links to the NASA website directly. So people can follow the links and see that I didn't just make up these pictures or some flat earther didn't. These are pictures from NASA. Now, if you look at the 2012 image, you don't even have to measure it. I did, but you can see it with the naked eye. You can see that it's an oblate spheroid. It's squashed.
Yeah.
So that's 2012, and now 2013 is a perfect sphere. So the Earth changed shape in 1 year.
Yeah.
So that's point number one. And then point number two is if you look at North America, it's literally over twice the size in one of the images that it is in the other one.
Yes.
Over twice as big. I mean, it looks so ridiculous. They're not even close. And this is the stuff that NASA is giving us.
And also another thing, why with all these satellites that we have out there, why can we ever got one real photos, but we all have these CGI Photoshop images? I mean, that's for me one other thing that really drives me insane. I mean, why don't we get ever a real photo? Most of these things, we get all these CGI photos.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because if you listen to them, they will claim that there's maybe 20,000 satellites up there, and they claim that they have some in geosynchronous orbits that are farther than the moon, that are twice as far as the moon, and they can't just turn it around and take live video and pictures and show us everything that's happening. They can't do that. Why can't they do that?
Yeah. As I said, guys, out there probably there are people freaking out, and now you mention Einstein and you bring down all these scientists. I mean, guys, ladies, do not believe anything we are saying. All I ask you is challenge yourself and start to answer with using the logic, not just repeating like a parrot what you've been told at school, using the logic of your brain, some of the challenging questions that we are posing here. Simple as that. That's all I ask. Because there is so much. And also, this is like a little journey. Once you want to really know the truth, this hour is just going to give you some curiosity. I'm not expecting that Trevor or myself, or with my accent, we're going to give you all the information you want. No. But I just hope at least I can say, you know what? For two guys like, Mr. Trevor, that, is a respectable guy. That he goes out, you do your business, you don't need this. You don't even need this attention, I'm sure. You got your own life. I read a little bit about you. I know that you're a guy that, educated. You know your story. You go out and you take a lot of probably attacks sometimes because I know how it works the situation. Just because you want to spread some truth. I really believe we should at least give this credit to have an honest conversation about this. That's all I hope. That's all I hope out there. Before people start to find out themselves to calling names or try to attack personally or anything. About me, you can call me whatever you want. I do not care. You know that. All I know, though, one thing. I have the obligation, whenever I have some questions that don't have the answer, to bring it here on the show and have this open debate with everybody. That's all I say. So I want to use this time we have. Probably I think we are the only radio station, really, commercial radio station, that we talk about this. Because I know even much more famous, let's say, conspiracy theorist radio host, okay? I mean, I listen to Alex Jones. I've been listening to Alex Jones for years. But I was very shocked, like when probably a few months ago, he started to make fun about the flat earthers. I mean,
right.
It's sad, because, I shouldn't make fun about anybody because I'm sure we used to make fun about 9/11 conspiracy theory and then we found out the truth and the facts and the logic. So I said, let's have an open mind about everything, even things that at the beginning look crazy, okay? All right, give me a little bit more juice because, so far you're doing a great job. I mean, you're giving a lot of challenging, at least questions or information. Anything else for the average person out there who's driving, maybe he's at the house, having a drink and say the earth is flat. Here are some facts. Go ahead, Trevor.
I mean, first of all, there's so much disinformation that they give us. Like, they're always saying that, we can't. So on the one hand, they're saying that the curve is so small that if you look at the Earth curve calculator, it says that at sea level, the curve would be 3 miles away. Now, do you realize how close that is? I mean, that is ridiculous. I mean, that, so on the one hand, they're saying you could see over the curve. It's kind of hard for me without visuals to explain it, but they're saying you can see over the curve at 3 miles, but not along it. So they're saying when you see the horizon should look flat, yet at the same time, you see ships going over the curvature. So they're saying that we live on a cylinder. What they're saying makes no sense. If you're seeing the curvature over the horizon, you have to see it along the horizon in every single direction because we live on a ball. So if we lived on a ball of the dimensions they were saying, 25,000 miles, we would see it clearly. There would be no mistaking it. You would always see it at sea level on the horizon. You would see the curvature. And then, of course, the movement is another story. I mean, the whole thing is just ridiculous when you think about it. And so there's people upside down and all over the place, and there's no up and down. And, I mean, none of this makes any sense. I mean, the whole thing is just ridiculous when you really stop to think about it. And people are spinning at all different speeds depending on where you are on the Earth.
Question. Yes, and I used to be not really good in physics when I was in school, but I remember there was a fundamental law of liquids, water. Okay?
Right.
What does happen with water? Pretty much it doesn't stay like straight. It always follows, I mean, think about the Earth. If it really was this water, we were living some sort of, globe, would have a curve or not? I mean, the water, I think you should start to think also that would fill up the different holes. I mean, there is something about...
Right. Water would have to curve and sea level wouldn't exist. I mean, we say sea level because it's level. It's a perfectly flat line. I mean, and you could take levels and measure them as far as you want, and obviously it's always level. The horizon means horizontal. That's where the word horizon comes from. I mean, the whole thing is just ridiculous. I'll give you some other quick ones. Like, for instance, we have 24-hour days because of the movement of the sun. A solar day is exactly 24 hours because the sun's in the same spot 24 hours later. Now, this is another one hard to visualize, but you can kind of on your own time kind of figure this out. Basically, the night should become day and day should become night if things work the way they said they did. Because things would be reversed. We would be facing the opposite direction. And then they start talking about sidereal days and try to muddy up the water. Sidereal day is the basic movement of a star relative to itself, and and that's a little shorter, but that's the same basic principle. So the day and night would be screwed up on their theoretical model. The stars would be different all the time, which they never are. I mean, there's so many things that don't make sense on their model. So the bottom line is what we're talking about is fact, is natural science, is provable, testable, and repeatable. See, anybody can go out and prove that the Earth is flat. Anyone can prove that it's motionless. Anyone can prove that the stars don't change. And then the few hundred other problems with their theory. They have nothing to back up anything they're saying. All they have to back up is their fake pictures, their fake moon landings, their fake ISS footage. Now, if you go in YouTube and Google like fake ISS footage, you won't believe what you see there. You've probably seen it. You'll see people on harnesses in the ISS station. You'll see people disappearing, and they're using green screens, and you'll see all kinds of errors that are going on the ISS station. Have you seen any of this stuff?
Yeah, I saw that. It's pretty disturbing when you start to, at the beginning it's hard to admit it. I know it's kind of a shock. Can be possible, can do this to us. But yes, there is no evidence. I mean, the evidence, yes, there is evidence, but it's a bad evidence. It's like green
It all
screen.
comes from them.
Yeah, green screen. Like, it's like almost like a B sci-fi
B movie.
movie,
Right.
in some sort
It
of.
is.
And that's sad.
It is.
And that's why I'm coming now, cui bono, who benefits out of that? I mean, without being a scientist, without even going too much conspiracy, we can start to see one thing. I mean, NASA has a budget, I don't forgot the numbers, but it's huge. Even its worst day, we're talking about billions and billions of dollars to justify a lot of things that maybe they're just made in a prop studio in Hollywood. I mean,
Well, let me tell you something else now. NASA is not even a drop in the bucket. When you add up all the space-related spending, think about it, and Elon Musk and all the satellites and all the secret space programs and all these black budgets, it's like $100 trillion when you add it all up.
Yeah.
I mean, the money is insane. It's so massive.
Yes.
NASA is just not even a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
Because you've heard Rumsfeld talk about, we misplaced all these trillions of dollars, and then the numbers keep going higher and higher and higher. So much of this money is space related. Look at all the satellite spending, and it's all crap. You can't find real pictures, real videos of satellites. It's all fake. It's all ground-based stuff. Why are they building all these high antennas all over the place constantly and all over buildings and everywhere? If we have satellites everywhere, we couldn't even use my cell phone because the signal was so bad. What about the satellites, right? There are no satellites.
Wow. No, this is something that I have seen many answers. I cannot really not find the question. I mean, many questions I don't have answers, but at the same time, just the facts that we are bringing here, it still shock me. Still, please continue. I mean, this is bad.
Well, so first of all, so there's the reason: money, power, and control. The same reason that they've done all these other conspiracies. Like people say, that would be impossible. How could you do this? Look at global warming. It's a perfect example. The biggest fraud ever. And why is that? Because it's all about money. If scientists don't say what they want them to say, then they don't get paid. Then they lose their job. So you have to say everything is about global warming. So then you get funded, and then you get, raises. The only scientists that admit that global warming is a fraud are basically the ones that are retired or don't care about their job anymore. And there's not many of them that will come forward because they'll be ostracized. Now, Flat Earth obviously takes it to a whole nother level. Like you were saying, believe me, I had better things to do than get into this topic, just like you too, because we were extreme enough as it is. Because I'm sure, I'm a libertarian like you, or maybe even an anarcho-capitalist, and we probably have much of the same beliefs and believe in all the same conspiracy theories. Yet someone like Alex Jones will not even touch this stuff because I believe that he's a high-level gatekeeper. Whether he wants to be in that position or not, there's certain areas that you can't go into because this one is so extreme that it upsets the whole power structure. Because I believe that not only is it about money, but I think it's about hidden land. Because Admiral Byrd, I don't know, people can look him up. He went to Antarctica, and he went on a TV show and talked about how there's all this expansive land and all these natural resources and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And then not long after that, he died. And then the United Nations all came together, all these different countries, and said, guess what? We're fighting about everything else, but we're going to agree that no one can go to Antarctica.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Why?
That's off limits, and you need special permits. You need all this stuff to go there. And then all the people would say, anybody can go. No, anybody cannot go there. And all the planes that go there, they're all owned by the same people. If you look into this, it's a very small group. They don't even have windows on the planes, and they only take you to where they want to take you. If you want to do an independent expedition of Antarctica, good luck trying to do that. Mm-hmm. You can't fly into there yourself. You can't take boats into there, and you can't go into the land yourself because we don't know exactly what the Earth is. We have many different models of what the flat Earth really is, but we know what it is not. We know there's no curvature and there's no spin and that outer space doesn't exist the way they're claiming it does, that there's probably no weightlessness or any of that stuff. So basically, one of the models that we're looking at is that Antarctica is like a 360-degree ice wall. So basically, they took the flat Earth map and wrapped it around the globe. That's why all the distances don't make sense. So that's another thing, that the southern hemisphere, all the distances are much greater than they're telling us. And, the flight patterns don't make sense on a globe. They make sense on a flat Earth map. So basically, one of the things that we want to do is eventually, when we get our movement big enough, the flat Earth movement has millions of people now worldwide, and it's getting so big because it can't be stopped. Because once somebody looks into it and discovers the truth, you can't get it out of your head. Like happened to you, the same thing happened to me. So what our ultimate goal is when we become big enough and powerful enough, we will go into Antarctica ourselves, regardless of what any government's going to try to do to stop us. And we'll have independent expeditions, and we will find out what is there. And we're also doing our own rocket launches now, too, because we've been funding them. And we're going to try to go up there as high as we can and see if there is a dome or what there is, and see if we can see curvature when we go up there. Because that if you Google, independent rocket launches or flat Earth high altitude, you will see that they can go as high up as they want, well over 100,000 feet, and it's perfectly flat. They show footage from the X-15 like over 300,000 feet, perfectly flat, which is impossible.
Unless you use the eye fish or fisheye lens, that's going to do the trick. I mean, that's what they've been doing.
They use fisheye lenses, they use CGI, they use all the special effects that they've had in the movies for a very long time. And the budgets that they have in the government are much greater than they have for movies. They can make any special effects they want.
Sometimes even poorly, I must tell you, for the money they have.
I know, because they're so cheap. Look at the moon landing. I'm sure you've looked into that. It's so fake. I mean, it's awful.
And that probably, was 60 years ago or whatever. At the point, they didn't have much the technology they have today. But today, when you see the CCGI, photos of the Earth, as you said, different sizes, and then they start to completely, and this is given by them, no alterated by us, okay, or anybody. I mean, you can see they change color, they change size, shape, dimension. I mean, it's like somebody really, they treat us like idiots. And maybe we are, some of us, most of us. That's the truth. I mean, I understand they have a very low expectation about us. The point here, people may say right now, wow, Luca, you have so many things to talk about it. We have close to Civil War, we are close to World War III, and I agree on all those. And normally we talk about all of those. But maybe if we really start to find out the biggest lie of the last 500 years that we've been fed, this is so huge, that when we start to open our eyes on things like that, all this castle made of illusions, all this matrix that we've been pretty much, surrounded by, and the Democrats, the Republicans, the new president, the old president, you start to realize that it's just an illusion. And at that point, when we wake up on something so big, they will have much more difficulty to control us as a free humanity. That's what I really hope. And that's why I finally decided that I want to talk about this. Because this is connected. This could be the domino effect to bring down all the other things they're doing to us. Am I right or wrong? What do you think? Why should we talk about this besides the fact that we want to know the truth?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the flat Earth is the key to everything, because I was into all these other conspiracies, but you notice the one thing they do not want you to talk about is flat Earth. That's the one thing that's totally unacceptable. That's when you get called names and they don't even want to dismiss you. Why can't we have an actual debate with Neil deGrasse Tyson and all their spokespeople? I would love to have a debate with them on facts. All they ever do is attack us. They say, it shows the poor education system. Yeah, the poor brainwashing system. All they do is personally attack. They will never attack our facts because they can't.
Yeah.
Because we would win in an argument. I think the flat Earth is the key to everything, because if you expose the flat Earth, then everything else falls apart. Because if people, realize that they were able to lie to us about this, then the whole matrix of government, the whole new world order just comes crashing down. because then we won't believe anything that they tell us, because I
Exactly.
think they've lied to us. I mean, I don't want to get into too many things, but you probably looked into dinosaurs and all these other things, because then all this other stuff comes into question. Because, I'm not religious, but I never believed in the Big Bang Theory. I never believed in evolution. And I didn't really believe in Adam and Eve. I didn't know what the answer was. But all this stuff, I mean, these are just theories. They're telling us that, we came from a Big Bang and everything came from nothing. And it just sounds like a bunch of crap to me,
Yeah, Trevor,
I mean,
I think there is, of course, more than just the money factor, and as you said, there is also the control factor. But I would like to also to start to think, why really they're so obsessed to keep this big lie going? Because beside the trillions of dollars that they can somehow extort from us, and we have no really idea what they're doing with that. Even technically, they can print money out of thin air, but that's not the real point. I believe there is much more. Why they are so obsessed to keep us in this state of illusion? Why they wanted to make us believe really, what are the really spiritual reason, if there is any, that they want to have humanity thinking to believe in this model of that we have right now taught to us?
Well, I think that, first of all, another possible reality could be that we could live on an infinite plane, or an extremely large plane. So let's say that Antarctica is just like kind of a border. And then if you travel far enough, because I've seen, weird videos on YouTube showing a second sun and stuff like that. You've probably seen it, but
Yes.
that stuff is harder to prove. But I'm thinking that, there could be other Earth ponds. Like we have a sun. See, what we're thinking is that the sun and the moon is very close and local, and they're spinning around us. See, that's another thing. I mean, look at the moon. We only see one side of the moon.
Yeah.
And they tell us, it's a sphere. We don't know that. The stars don't exist the way they tell us. When you get a P900 camera, you can zoom in and see what stars really look like. And I've done it, and I put this stuff on YouTube. They look totally different than what they're telling us. And the moon is supposed to be 238,000 miles away, yet with your naked eye, you can see craters and details. I'm telling you, the thing is close, and it also seems to be translucent at times. You can see stars through it. We only see one side of it all the time, so that could be a flat disk. So I think space doesn't exist the way that they tell us. The stars and the so-called planets, they're moving around us, and they're close. And I think that the reality, a main reason they could be lying to us, is suppose that we travel to Antarctica and we can keep going, and there are other Earth ponds, there are other suns and other areas that are inhabitable, and they're keeping us on this prison planet. Look at Alex Jones, the name of his website is Prison Planet.
Yeah.
So it's like they created this prison and this planet. I mean, look at the movie Planet of the Apes. They're saying that we're risen apes living on a planet. It's all lies.
Yeah.
So they could be keeping us locked in here. This could be like a prison. They're keeping us here. They're telling us that we just came from nothing, that we're unimportant. But maybe the reality is that either this is an infinite plane, or what if there's just a dome and this is just all there is? Then, that makes us even more important, that we're the center of everything, and that what we do matters, and that these people have been lying to us about everything for thousands of years so they could control everything and, scare us with meteors and this and that and the end of the world. And it's all fear talk, just to control us and manipulate us. That's what I think. They're control freaks and they're psychos. And they
also,
just want to keep us,
maybe,
listening to everything they tell us.
Yeah, maybe if we start to see the truth, and if the truth is that we really live in a dome, I would ask myself, who is outside the dome? Who made this dome? Who is watching us? Who is controlling all this microcosm? Another name I learned in my little journey, that of course I'm just started it, about these flat earth theories, it's Admiral Byrd. Do you know anything about him?
Yeah, Admiral Byrd, he's the one that went to Antarctica, and if you Google him and look at him on YouTube, he's interesting, and he did all these expeditions, and, who knows how much of that is real and how much of that is disinformation. But I think that he released some information that maybe they didn't want him to, and then he died not long after releasing that information, and then Antarctica was closed off.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so there's something very strange going on. If you look at the Vatican, like their telescopes are called the Lucifer telescope, and all these things. Like they have all these extremely strong telescopes, and they, along with the scientists, control everything. And you know what's funny? You know who came up with the Big Bang theory was a priest. I think his name was Father Lemaitre. You can Google him.
Okay.
The father of the Big Bang theory.
Wow.
He was actually a Catholic priest.
Wow.
So when people say that, we're the religious people and we're the zealots, no, it's actually the other way around. Heliocentrism is a religious cult, and people don't even realize that they're in a religion. What flat earthers are doing is, some flat earthers, are religious, maybe about half of us, but I happen to not be. I just look at things objectively and looking at the fact. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm like that. I keep my faith very personal, and I try just to use logic and facts when it comes to these topics, okay? I mean, I know people don't need to agree with me. That's fine. I don't care. The point is really seen just within us from the point of view of a regular person. As I said, we don't need to be scientists. We don't need to have degrees. We need to have a brain connected to two eyes and start to use some logic. Just also based on the facts and documents and numbers that they gave us. We're not even trying to create our own theories. We just use their numbers to prove that they are lying to us. And as I said,
Right.
That's it. That's it. Another thing I really have no answers. It's about the moon. We've been told, when we have the different phases of the moon, sometimes full moon and then you have different phases. At the same time, during the day, I see the moon, let's say, for example, half moon, and then I see the sun on the other side of the sky. So wait a second, I said, if the moon is half sides or whatever sides it is, the shape, because the sun partially is covering it, I don't know if this is connected to flat earth, but still I don't understand why. How can it be possible that the sun is completely one side and the other side there is the moon, and then you see the moon that is not full? I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And the fact that we always see the same side, the whole thing. There are other pictures from the moon, for instance. It's a little hard to visualize, but there's a picture like they're standing on the moon, and you see like the side of the Earth, kind of. Now, if that picture were real, then that means when we would be looking from the Earth, we would be seeing the dark side of the moon. Yeah. When they were on the moon. But we never have, and we never will, because I don't think there is another side to the moon.
Yeah. And I said, out there, this is not a show about the moon landing or things like that, but it's a natural consequence to start to also question about that. And be sure about there. I am proud to be an American, and I want to be an American, but it doesn't mean that I want to be a sheep. It doesn't mean that I want to believe in lies. Because government is not America. America is we the people. America is the spirit of the United States Constitution, and more important, the Declaration of Independence. That, at the end of the day, government is made by men and can be corrupted. And I don't have any allegiance to any government. I have an allegiance to America itself. And one of the things I really believe we should have allegiance is the truth. Truth means also honesty, means also that we do not lie, and lies are connected to crimes. Because how many people have died, how many people have been killed to keep this lie going? We cannot just be silent. We cannot just be saying, after all, it's for the goodness of our country. No. The moment that we are silent, when we know that there is a big crime out there, this is not just some, little Boy Scouts camp trying to do some pranks about the flat earth or the globe or whatever. Many people have been assassinated, silenced, with murder, with torture, and many other things that we have no idea. So the moment that we know this is true, as human beings, we have the duty to decide if we want to stand for the evil. Just do nothing. Just be silent. But if you want to stand for all the people who have tried to warn us, we need to start to speak up. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that government is just people, that want to control other people. They're power hungry. So I think the ultimate result will be of this flat earth awakening is it will be the transcendence of the idea of government, that we need to be controlled by other people.
Yeah.
which we don't, because that's the foundation of America, and just taking it to the next level where why can't you have countries where people, it's just all about voluntarism, all about voluntary interaction? Why do we always need force? Government is nothing but force.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Well,
It's just controlling and killing and stealing from people. So they need these lies to keep it alive. Once this flat earth thing becomes big enough, people will realize that, we don't need government, and sane people can interact amongst themselves,
Yeah, I
and
believe
in a voluntary way.
we change a lot from the, as I said, no government is being perfect, but when the founders started this country, it was one of the, for sure, one most unique experiment ever done all over history. But we changed a lot in the last just 100 years, and unfortunately not for the best. Listen, I really appreciate you so much, for your time. I want to give you the last minute, like normally I do for my guests. You can say whatever you want. You can, of course, plug your website or your Facebook page, and you got the floor, Trevor. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks a lot for having me, Luca. And just go to Flat Earth Los Angeles on Facebook, and look into this stuff yourself. We're not trying to convince you of anything, but I became a flat earther trying to debunk flat earth because I thought it was so ridiculous, because we were so brainwashed. But then just the idea of, look, a curve this is not rocket science. I mean, something anybody can measure, a curve. There isn't a curve to be measured. You can use earth curve calculators. You can verify everything I'm telling you myself. Look at the formula and try to conduct your own test. Try to look for the curvature yourself. Try to look for constellation changes. Try to find, movement. You're not going to find any of these things.
Exactly.
And,
exactly.
That's the bottom line. And if you still want to believe in the ball, fine. But realize it's a belief and it's a religion. That's all it is. You have no proof. And they keep telling us that we're going to go into Mars and to moon. And the astronauts said, oh, we can't go to the moon anymore. Don Pettit, we destroyed the technology. We lost the technology. Google this. You'll have all kinds of astronauts saying this. And then on the next hand, they're saying, oh, we're going to Mars, in a few years.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere. This is all fake. It's never going to happen. I wish it would, but hey, if they want to bring us into orbit tomorrow, I'll go. I would happily be proven wrong. But guess what? I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Yes. Okay. Listen, I want to thank you also, K-Talks, and any other station that really allows this conversation be free and freedom of speech. If you want to support this show, I remind you, I'm not going out begging for sponsors, but I need your help. Go to www.zanna.us. You, the listeners, are my final authority, and the truth is the final authority. That's all I want to bring you. Don't go away. We are ready for hour number 2. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. We will talk about guns, training, and much more. Do not go away.